Hello, my name is Chuck Smith, and I am the Director of Fundraising for National Relief Charities. I've worked for the nonprofit for about 5 years, and during that time I've had to do a lot of research on Native American history, and I've learned a whole bunch of stuff, a lot of stuff I never knew. For instance, I never knew that American Indian reservations were used by Adolf Hitler when he designed concentration camps. I also didn't know that ever since Columbus arrived in North America, over 10 million Native Americans have died as a result of the colonization of the U.S. So when faced with things like that, it was sort of an eye-opener, and through that time, I've worked towards learning more things. NRC's mission is to help build self-sustaining American Indian communities, and we feel one of the key factors in being able to do that is to educate the public. So I'm here to share with you some of the things I've learned about Native American history. We're going to step back and go a little bit back in time and talk about what life was like back in the 1800s. The U.S. government developed reservations, and it was the U.S. government's means of separating Native Americans from white colonists. And it seemed like a pretty good deal. The U.S. government sort of traded and said, you give us this land, we'll give you that land, it'll be your own land. That was fine, but the land that was given to them was remote. You couldn't grow anything on it. It took a people that were nomadic. They could travel to another land when there was a drought. They could follow game because they were all hunters. But this now put them on one area where it totally changed the dynamics of their culture. The other thing that the U.S. government did was another way to assimilate American Indians into the white culture was to try to make them white. And so they forcefully removed 10,000 American Indian children and put them into U.S. government-run boarding schools. They weren't allowed to wear their native clothing, they couldn't speak their language, they cut their hair, and they disciplined them, and many of them were abused. And from that, they raised the children on boarding schools and then sent them back to the reservation. They couldn't speak their language, they couldn't speak to their relatives, they had new names. And what it did was it caused a whole generation of American Indians to not learn parenting skills, which when you take a whole generation of people who then have children but don't know how to raise them, it brings all sorts of problems with it. The other thing that the American government did was it made treaties with Native Americans. You give us this, we'll give you that. Out of all the treaties, most of them were broke by the U.S. government. For instance, when they found gold on reservation land, they took the land back. So you can imagine what that would do with the relationship between Native Americans and the white U.S. government when they were used to being have broken treaties and broken promises. And that sort of paranoia with whites still exists today. So now that we've talked about history, let's talk about how that manifested itself into the challenges faced by Native Americans today. Access to jobs is very limited on reservations. Most are very remote. In fact, most exist in the Northern Plains area and in the Southwest. And that's exactly where National Relief Charities service areas are located. Unemployment ranges from 35 to 85%, depending on the reservation. From 30 to 45% of American children live in poverty. Nearly 23% of American Indian households experience food insecurity in the U.S., which means they don't necessarily know where their next meal is coming from. Suicide rates for American Indian children between the ages of 15 and 24 are 3 times the national average. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for Native Americans, teenagers. And Indians have the highest rate of diabetes, tuberculosis, and cancer than any other race in the U.S. One of the results of the food commodities that the U.S. government does supply to reservations is they're highly processed, refined sugar, lots of fats. And from that, Native Americans' bodies couldn't process those types of foods because they weren't used to eating those types of things. So now they've got the highest rates, almost 3 times the national average for diabetes. So knowing what we know now, what does an organization like NRC do? NRC provides immediate relief for reservations through the provision of material goods. We provide food, we provide weatherization, winter fuel, and personal care items to reservations and people who need them. NRC helped over 300,000 people last year alone. NRC also focuses on how do we solve the problem in the future, and we think that we do that through supporting education. Last year we provided school supplies to over 30,000 students, and 250 scholarships for Native American teenagers attending colleges. By supporting organizations like NRC, people can help us support our work in the public education that we're trying to do. Now that you know sort of facts like this that you might not have known before, most people are like, well, now that I know that, what can I do to help? One of the things that people can do is learn more about Native Americans by doing research on your own. With the internet, there's plenty of places to learn about what is causing the Native American challenges today. Through that, you can actually become a subject matter expert, because there's a very little part of the population that actually understands the facts that actually happen. We weren't taught these things in school. You can follow Native American news, as well as sign up for National Relief Charities websites, emails. We're on Facebook, Twitter. We've got an NRC blog, and there are great ways to be given information that you might not have easy access to. With that information, you can share those things with friends and family and actually help support our cause just by sharing what you know. There's also ways to support an organization like NRC through financial contributions. And from that, you're able to join sort of a philanthropic community that most people are looking to give back. People know that people who do give to nonprofit organizations or give back to communities, research shows those people actually live longer. It's because they know themselves that they're giving back to other people in need. So Native Americans are currently struggling in third world conditions, is what they've been defined as right here in America. And as a result of the past and present treatment of their people. And not knowing the history, it makes it very difficult to try to move people into action when they don't know the facts that actually exist. So what you can do is you can help spread the information. Sharing what you know with people that you know, friends and family, and declaring that when you do support NRC, either financially or by sharing the information, you tell people about organizations like NRC. You can do that by simply visiting NRC's website at remembernativeamericans.org, and it's simply signing a pledge that now that you know what you know, you're going to remember what you know by supporting Native American communities. You sign the pledge, and from this you're provided access to email, our Twitter, our blog, and our Facebook page. So in conclusion, just to show you how much the statement, knowledge is power, how true that is, if each one of us had, let's say, 100 friends on Facebook, and we shared what we know with those 100 friends and asked them to share those things with their 100 friends, we would, within a day or two, be able to share that information with over 10,000 people. So hopefully you've learned something today that you feel worth sharing. Thank you very much.